Hi everyone, this is Christian Danielson, or you can call me Chris, and for my project, I will be comparing the ancient Greek god Zeus and Persephone with their modern versions in the video game Smite. What you see right now is me playing a match of Smite as Zeus. I will be going over the old interpretations of the gods, their similarities and differences within the ancient texts such as Hesiod's Theogony or Homer's Odyssey, and their reimagined lore within Smite and Smite's yearly story called the Odyssey. After the comparisons, I will explain what I believe this represents has changed in our views over time, barring the obvious change that we no longer believe these gods rule above us on a daily basis. Starting out with Zeus. I'll rerun his myth quickly. Zeus is the last of the 12 gods and goddesses born from the Titan Rhea. All his other siblings have been swallowed by their father, the Titan Kronos. Zeus is raised in Crete after help from Gaia. When Zeus grows up, here is already a difference with the old myth and Smite's version of the myth. In the Theogony by Hesiod, Zeus, with Gaia's help, tricks Kronos into vomiting up his brethren gods, while in Smite, Zeus battles Kronos and slits open his stomach, allowing his brothers and sisters to escape. Both meet back together again, however, when Zeus allies himself with the Cyclopses and Hecatonchires, after releasing them at Gaia's request, for their war against the Titans. The Cyclopses forge Zeus's thunderbolt that would hurl at enemies and those deserving judgment. When they win against the Titans, Zeus wins the right to rule over heaven, as he is most powerful, and in the Theogony the wisest of the gods as well, outside of Athena, his daughter. Poseidon is awarded the rule of the sea, while Hades gets the underworld. Zeus in the ancient texts is actually rather similar to his persona in Smite. It is a rather faithful adaptation of him, though with harsher views on his infidelity with Hera. In all versions of the myth, Zeus is seen to be a judge of others while also being a ruler of the heavens. In the Theogony, he is praised in nearly every way, even those who are looked upon by his children find themselves blessed yet. Though in Prometheus Bound, by Aesopus, Zeus is revealed to be more of a tyrant than a fair and wise king. Here, the other gods fear his wrath, and will obey orders that they may even disdain in order to appease him, such as binding and torturing Prometheus, or releasing a box full of curses and plagues to Pandora as a punishment for humanity accepting the fire stolen by Prometheus. Smite takes a more fair look to Zeus' personality, outside of his cheating, having Zeus' personality be more akin to how he was in the Iliad. In the Iliad, Zeus is much more of the fair judge and wise king he was supposed to be. While he is extremely powerful and the other gods fear him at times, he can be seen numerous times trying to appease them, and even going against his own wishes to appease the other gods. One such example of Zeus' kindness in the Iliad would be when Thetis goes to Zeus to plead for Achilles at his request. Zeus is aware of Hera being in the room, and knows that Hera despises the Trojans, yet for his son, he attempts to silently nod his agreement to Thetis, as a promise in order to keep it a secret and everyone be pleased. Hera notices this though, and is angry at Zeus. She is later reconciled by Hephaestus. Many times throughout the Iliad, Zeus makes decisions to try and appease his wife, or the other gods, even when he himself did not want the outcome. He also tried to fight against the Fates a fair bit, but even almighty Zeus cannot fight the Fates' power. This falls very similar to how Zeus is in Smite, trying to stop the war of the gods with his power and his counsel. As in Smite's universe, the gods from various pantheons have been tricked or led into war with one another. Zeus attempts to reconcile his past infidelity with Hera, and tries to lead the other gods into a peaceful solution as he fights down the more wicked gods within the game, who are attempting to keep the war going. This is actually really similar to how Zeus wanted the Trojan War to end, and declared it over after Aphrodite rescues Paris from his battle with Menelaus. Though in this instance, Zeus sought peace, Hera requested war still, and to appease his wife, Zeus sent Athena out to reignite the war with the Trojans and Achaeans. So in most instances of Zeus, seen in Smite, he follows more powerful, yet kind, fair judge and ruler of the heavens that he attempts to be in the Iliad and the Odyssey, rather than the all-powerful god who's perfect at everything that he is seen to be in the Theogony, or the cruel tyrant he is seen to be in Prometheus Bound. However, all the myths and Smite even acknowledge that Zeus was a being of wrath, whether they directly show it or merely stated it, and Smite keeps us in line with Zeus's actions and abilities in the game. In the game of Smite, Zeus is described as taking to the battle when he is forced to, unleashing his thunderous fury upon those foolish enough to anger him. The skies are said to darken when he is called to battle, and in the game, Zeus's power reflects that. In Smite, Zeus is a character type known as a mage. Mages are either unique characters who use magic to alter the battlefield in strange ways, or they are extremely powerful, using their magic and abilities to overpower those fighting against them. Zeus is the latter kind, an extremely powerful mage who throws down his Aegis and summons thunderbolts to deal devastating damage to anyone who dares get close to him. Smite wanted Zeus' personality to match his abilities, and so with care they made his abilities similar to his lore while also making sense in a video game. Zeus has 4 abilities that can be used. His first ability has him throw his Aegis on the ground. His second ability has him throw a lightning bolt that chains off of enemies and builds a static charge around them. His third ability was to detonate the static charge on his enemies at his will, and if used at the perfect moment, it would deal crippling damage to an enemy. Befitting the powerful but wise Zeus, who has to balance the other gods on Olympus besides him. His final ability, however, channeled his wrath. Zeus sends a thunderstorm to an area and rains lightning down on any of those foolish enough to be standing beneath it. This ability befits the wrath Zeus is said to possess, as just as Zeus turns the sky dark in anger, so too does he strike those against him down with one powerful ultimate ability. So those are Zeus' similarities and differences in Smite and the old texts, and how they were adapted into the game. But what does that actually mean for how we see Zeus, or at least how the creators of Smite see Zeus? I think it relates to how the creators of Smite wanted to see Zeus and how we view a strong man or a wise king should be. Zeus is powerful, but not all-powerful, as he even loses to the fates. This wasn't changed because as a society we have always valued at least some weakness in beings, and unless someone is absolutely perfect, they should have at least a few weaknesses that can be sympathized with, understood, or critiqued if they are bad, such as Zeus' infidelity and wrath. Zeus is a symbol of power and wisdom, seen many places throughout our culture. Yet we acknowledge that at times he was a tyrant or a lecher, and we lament this behavior as we do not like it and we know it is wrong. As such, with the modern interpretation, Zeus, the All-Father of the heavens, we acknowledge that he did wrong, and we do not let it slide, yet we want the symbol of Zeus to be hoisted up on a pedestal. Or in other words, we want the shining example of power and wisdom to be a goal for others. A wise but powerful king who rules others as fairly as possible, not a tyrant who rules with power alone or a fool who does not know how to rule at all. Someone who has made mistakes but attempts to correct them, not letting them be forgiven or forgotten, but using them as stepping stones to be a better leader the next time. That is what I believe Smite has tried to show with Zeus' story, and what we might believe about Zeus in our culture. He is a powerful man who has virtues and faults, and we want the virtues to shine, but acknowledge the faults he has. Cheating on his wife and being cruel are 2 horrible parts of a man that should be acknowledged and not forgotten, but used as a stepping stone to be a better as a man and a leader to others. The other character I will be analyzing will be Persephone, goddess of the harvest and also goddess of death after her wedding to Hades. As before, I will give a quick rundown on her myth and the changes to it from original to Smite's version, her abilities and what this means for how we view her today. Persephone is Demeter's daughter, and was very beautiful and loving. She made the flowers bloom and was loved by many, as a goddess of fertility and the harvest. When Hades wanted a wife, he kidnapped her and forced her to stay in the other world, Underworld. When Demeter learned of this, she begged for her back, and after being denied by the others, she became a human and tried to raise the royal son, but was found out and denied. She revealed herself to be a goddess and demanded a temple. She denied the harvest for humans until Persephone was brought back to her. In order to not let the humans die, Zeus ordered Hades to release Persephone to Demeter. But Hades made her eat a pomegranate, so that way she would be forced to come back to the underworld for 6 months a year. This myth was created to show the cycle of harvests. Eventually Persephone marries Hades and becomes a goddess of death as well as harvest. In Smite's case, however, Persephone is still a beautiful woman, but instead of being a delicate, flowery-eyed goddess, viewed by many, she is smart and prideful. She is still the goddess of vegetation and harvest, as well as fertility, and a daughter of Zeus and Demeter, but now Demeter had forced her to be a part of her mysteries, while Zeus looked for a husband to give her away. Zeus gave her away to Hades as a gift, and this saddened Demeter as she was betrayed, starting the whole starvation of humanity. Hades was exceedingly happy to have a new bride, and he did not really care much about that, but he knew that Persephone would have to leave in order to appease Demeter and save the humans. Hades, however, offered his new bride a choice, and showed her the pomegranate seeds, offering her a permanent place in the underworld as his bride. Persephone knew what this meant, and she was glad to have a choice for her finally, so she accepted the seeds and she ate them, cursing her to return to the underworld for half a year. Yet this was what she wanted, as she wished to be with Hades, who actually loved her and wished to make her happy and treated her as an equal. And down in the depths of the underworld, for 6 months at a time, Persephone was queen, looking over the mortals who had died and caring for their souls alongside her husband. Thanks to this, she learned the truth behind how caring mortals are and how unfairly they were treated by the gods above. And when she visited her mother in spring and summer, this feeling only worsened until eventually Persephone grew to despise the gods, who did not care for their mortals as anything other than prayer givers. Eventually, Persephone coaxes Hades into leading a revolt against Zeus and the other gods, seeking to punish those who did not deserve to be gods in her eyes. In Smite, Persephone takes on the role of a villain with a noble cause. She has convinced her husband Hades and a few other denizens of the realm to fight against Zeus, the Greek god and leader of all, and Olorun, the Yorubic god and a supreme ruler, the old and new ruler of the gods in Smite's lore. She wants to fight against the other gods, whose pointless wars have caused the deaths of countless mortals and caused even more suffering that she has spent eons watching, and finally enough is enough. Going on to the battlefield with her husband, Persephone's abilities as a mage fit both a goddess of death and a goddess of the harvest. She plants skulls into the ground that act as seeds, growing into stronger and more unique plants as time goes on, that allows her to trick, trap, or hunt down those she wishes. Because of the unique way of fighting with her plants, befitting her nickname Clever Persephone, she uses many tricks to stay ahead of her opponents. Harvesting the plants to activate them and to fight her opponents, she also uses vines and skeletons to injure and trap the other gods and beings on the battlefield. Spawning a mesh of vines and sending it off to capture and ensnare those around it is her ultimate ability. Finally, Persephone's personality differs quite a bit from her old myth form in Smite. While a villain to the other gods, she is quite caring for humans and her husband. She is still very loving goddess of harvest and fertility after all. But being cruel and crafty to the other gods is new, along with the changes to hers and Hades' relationship. I believe this shift in personality is due to changing views on female empowerment, as well as changed views regarding love, marriage, and consent. Unlike Zeus' view with how a man should be, Persephone's view is how a woman is equal. To further explain this, I'll go back to the old myth. Persephone was kidnapped and had no choice but to fall in love until she was rescued. In Smite's myth, however, Persephone is given away, much like a dowry by Zeus, but Hades actually loves her and she him, and when being told to obey more orders and undo the original order by Zeus from before, and return to her mother, who also did not listen to her, Hades actually gives her a choice for the first time, and she gladly takes it, becoming queen of the underworld, and changing even more, while also changing Hades in the process. This shows the shift in marriage, where women were originally below men and should do whatever was told to them, in the Greek version, to a shift where the woman and man were equal, both loving each other, helping each other, and possibly changing or complementing each other. It also shows the shift towards consent and mutual love and understanding now in society, showing how it used to be a do what I say and that is it, now a I offer this, do you accept? The second change is her personality. Persephone went from being the cute, silly flower goddess, who was known only really for her beauty, to a smart and caring goddess, but not one to be messed with. This shows the change as well in the viewing of women, as she is not some goddess only good for being looked at, or for being pretty, but is an equal with her husband, god of the underworld, as a goddess of death. Though their roles are different, to them their values are the same. showing how society now tries to view men and women as the same value, even if what they do is similar or different. With that concludes both my analysis of the characters, and I say that I believe the characters have changed overall as our view of society has changed, and we now try to look at men and women as more equal in role, and we also try to look at the faults that have been committed in the past and how they should be viewed now, such as with Zeus's infidelity being terrible now, whereas before it was okay but angered the women. With that, I conclude this part of my project, and the rest of the video will be the gameplay until the finish of the match, and that is it. Thank you for listening, have a good day.
You too good, they too bad. Fall before Zeus!
Your team has destroyed a middle enemy base.
No
Can
one
escape this detonator!
Goodbye.
Good
Good
game.
times.
Bye.